Hello, in this short video on our DevOps Ready series, I'm going to talk about continuous testing with Worksoft and with Jenkins. So just to level set, I'll start out with what do I mean by continuous testing? Because continuous gets thrown in front of all terms in the DevOps pipeline. So continuous integration, this is where developers have a best practice where they want to integrate their code into a shared repository on a daily or on-demand basis, and then they run their unit tests to make sure their little pieces of code are working. Okay, so it's usually in a non-deployed environment, and it's the concept of I've committed a change, I've compiled my code, I do some testing and report back. Now, continuous testing tends to involve a process where you're generating and managing your tests and you run them on demand or in parallel at scale. And so a lot of times continuous testing is where we're in a semi-deployed environment and we have multiple processes together, like a larger end-to-end process, and we run those, say, on a daily basis. And you've got continuous deployment, which is how you move your code and your deployed configurations from pre-prod to production environments. Continuous improvement is your feedback from once you've deployed and running in production. Continuous delivery is you want to be always in a deployable state. And the idea is that every little change you make gets actually deployed all the way to production. And then continuous quality is that process where we ensure that we are integrating testing across and quality across our entire SDLC, because we really want to make sure we deliver the expected business value. Okay, so what we'll look at is specifically continuous testing. So when should you do continuous testing versus continuous integration? When your business processes span multiple applications and organizational boundaries, right? So when your business process, say order to cash or hire to retain, they both share finance modules. So you've got multiple organizations across this larger process, so you're not sure if changes in the HR modules or the sales order modules are going to affect finance. When you've got multiple teams working in one staging environment, they may be very conscious of their individual stories and their changes and their check-ins, but they may not understand if they're breaking each other, if they're breaking changes across their stories. Okay, an interesting one is thinking about master data changes can break upstream and downstream systems. And these large ERPs, we bought the ERP package, the services work, the data persists of the database, the calculations and the reports, we expect those to work. But what we do is a lot of changes to master data. Maybe it's we do price break changes based on quantities, or we change our bill of materials of how things are made. So we need to test those things. And that's actually data changes. There's no code changes like traditional CI. There's no change list with that CI picks up in a build server. Okay, many of our SaaS applications are more configuration oriented versus code pipeline oriented. So you look at HR modules, and you're changing holiday pay. That's not changing things at the code level. What you're doing is you're configuring them, right? So this is really good for continuous testing because you don't know exactly where the changes are, so you want to do that on a regular basis. Another place to think about it is when you have more than one change list going into a shared environment. People tend to think about continuous integration testing, their unit testing at a change list, not realizing that there's changes that break things upstream and downstream. So, shared modules need to be validated. So, if you make a change in the finance module, there's people with sales orders and deliveries and accounts receivable that need to be aware of that. But also people in the HR modules need to be aware of that. So we need to think about shared modules should be continuously tested because we may not have full visibility into when things change around them. Okay. So I'll start out with Worksoft. What does it look like to actually kick off and run continuous testing from Execution Manager? Here I have a test plan called Soulman Test Plan. And what it does is it logs into Solution Manager for me and it runs all the tests on my task list. So instead of running them manually, I have a certified process that does robotic automation on that. So if I want to run this on a recurring basis, what I need to do is pick a date in the future, say the 25th, 5 a.m., and I actually want to go run this daily. And maybe I want to run it every day for the rest of the time, or maybe I want to run it till a specific date, or I want to run it 80 times. Okay, things like that. So what this does is allows me to schedule this to run, and Execution Manager will do this automatically. So when I save this, what I'll see now is that I have my test plan's process is updated. So my test plan will start tomorrow, and it'll run every day for the next 80 days at 5 a.m. and it's going to kick off my tests for me. So this is what it looks like to schedule a test and have it run via Execution Manager. Now, a lot of times people are looking to orchestrate this from things like Jenkins. They want Jenkins to be their central point of truth for running their processes. Okay? So if I come over to Jenkins, in Jenkins, you can have individual say parts of your pipeline that run on demand, and they can be triggered by a check-in, that can be triggered by another part of the build. And other ones, they may come from actually working with running things on a scheduled basis. So in this case, I have this Jenkins sales order and continuous integration tests, and it runs on a specific point in time. What I want to do is I actually want to take this and I want to schedule it to run on a regular basis. Okay, so what I've done here is I have a build script set up that actually runs a bookmark. So from a continuous testing standpoint, what I want to look at is how do I run things on a regular basis. Okay, so if I come over here to my Certify, I've got, say, a daily folder, I've got a weekly folder, and I've got my regression of my sales orders. So this Jenkins process is a continuous integration. There's no schedule for it, but it says whatever tests are in this folder, go run them based on a build event. Okay, but what happens if I want to say have my processes that are my daily folder run every day for me automatically? Okay, so what we would do is we'd want to go schedule a job in Jenkins that knows how to get all the tests in that folder and run them. Okay, so I'll show you how to do this. I'm going to come back and I'm going to say create a new item, and I'm going to call this daily regression, and I'm just going to copy my other process, so I've got the core script there to work with. Okay, so inside of here I'm going to go put in my username and password. Okay, and now my triggers. How do I want to trigger this? Well, I'm going to say build periodically. And so if you are familiar with Jenkins, you can put in a how about hourly? So I want to put in that I want to run this on hour 6 for every day, every week, every year. So simple command and a build trigger, easy enough to do. And then what do I want to build? So I copied this old one, and this one was running my Jenkins sales orders. But what I really want to do is I want to say whatever tests from this daily folder, go run them. So what I've done is inside of our Management Studio, I have a Jenkins daily regression folder. So this Jenkins daily here basically tells Execution Manager, go look in the daily folder, and whatever tests exist, go run for me. So the nice things as developers write more tests, as we get more regressions for your end-to-end processes, they just put them in this folder and they run. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take this name, Jenkins Daily. I'll copy it so I don't have any typos. I'm going to actually put it inside here. So what this means is I now have a PowerShell script that logs in and points to Execution Manager, and it says, please take the bookmark called Jenkins Daily Tests and run it. And it just so happens it's going to run it every day at 6 a.m. for me. So now when I come into work at 8, I'll have my Jenkins dashboard will tell me what's happening and what's the status of everything. So now I've got my daily regressions. They're scheduled to run. Tomorrow morning when I come in, I'll get the results. I'll get the pass or fail on my Jenkins job, and also get it over in my results folders in Certify itself. But the idea is I've got something triggering my end-to-end processes to run on a continuous basis. So I could do it in Jenkins like I just showed you by setting up my cron job, or I can do an execution manager and it will do the scheduling. So it doesn't matter, who's doing the orchestration. The most important thing is you're actually running your tests on a regular basis. Execution manager is going to handle the complexities, environment setup, and logging you in, getting you a good clean desktop, running your tests, getting your screenshots, and then cleaning up after there. So hopefully this helps and makes you think about how can I start running all of my certified processes on a more regular basis to capture my defects before I get into production. Thanks and have a great day.